Good evening, cult members, and welcome to Pop Culture Cult. I'm Sean.
I'm Janice.
Welcome to our instantly after the episode reaction.
A couple days too late.
A couple days too late. The Skeleton Crew, this one is episode 6. This one's called Zero Friends Again. This is the KB story that we were all expecting to come, which means next week it says Jod.
Right.
Or Dak, or whatever else his name is.
Dak.
It's Dash Rendar.
Yeah,
it's not Dash Rendar, but Dash Rendar is from the comics, and I went into a whole diatribe on Geekery, which you should go follow us on the Geekery. Okay, I want to start with two things. One, Happy New Year. Two, we're a couple days late because as much as we love this show, the holiday layout just really crushed us with the Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve dropping of these episodes.
Yeah.
This is a completely a selfish, personal reason. I wish it was some other day of the week. Like, I just, for this holiday season, I understand why they did it.
Yeah, I don't know that it would have, typically they do stuff on Wednesdays. That wouldn't have worked either.
Yeah.
And, Fridays just
suck all the way around.
Yeah, they're just not good. It is what it is.
Yeah. So that's why we're getting to it late. Our Christmas was amazing. We went to the World of Disney, the land of Disney.
The land of Disney, not the World of Disney.
We went to the World of Disney store a bunch of times. My credit card is screaming. And we went to Vegas, and we did our Christmas with our family, and then the New Year's we had plans, and so here we are. So I would also talk about this episode by starting Bryce Dallas Howard. Most of this episode, we're going to be talking about her directing style and what she is able to bring both visually and emotionally from the characters. This woman is Ron Howard's daughter, who fell asleep in the room with George Lucas, Ron Howard, and oh my God, his name just left me. Who did all the Japanese samurai movies that George Lucas
Kurosawa.
Kurosawa. Because that's her life. She needs a movie.
Yes.
I specifically want her to do a Star Wars movie, and I'm not saying that that's not going to happen sometime at some point in time in the future. But right now, she needs her own movie that she is not acting in, that she is the director in.
Yeah.
Something small, something intimate, something not with a big budget. Although we know what she can do with a big budget. But it is time to give her something there. Now, I'm not saying that it's not being worked on right now, and that she hasn't said no to some things because she also is acting.
Yep. She did Argyle.
Yep. And she was so much fun in Argyle.
Yep.
That's probably going to be on our top 10 list. Spoilers for what's coming this weekend.
Yep.
But I just feel like it is time for her she's gotten this chance to prove herself on a smaller scale, like a lot of other directors have done throughout the ages, being episodic television or music videos or small independent movies. It is time to give her something.
Yep, absolutely.
So what's on your wish list?
For what?
For Bryce.
Oh. I don't know.
Let's have her do a reboot of the Pirates of the Caribbean.
No, it's too soon.
It's too soon.
It's way too soon for that.
All right. How about a one-off Star Tours movie? No. That's kind of what this show is.
Yeah. No, this show in movie form would have been like a Goonies, E.T.
Yeah.
Would be a perfect.
Yeah.
Like, I'm surprised she didn't just do the whole thing. I don't know why they only gave her.
Her and John Watts and Christopher Ford have all been friends. They all went to NYU film school together. So I don't even think she was planning on doing anything for this until John came in and said, "Would you like to do an episode?"
Yeah.
Everybody
it's a good episode for her to do.
Yeah, everybody who's been directed this this series has been connected to Christopher Ford and John Watts
Right.
through film school. This is their fan film that they've always wanted to make in college.
Yeah.
They just happen to have Lucasfilm Star Wars money to go behind it. Okay, so the basis of this episode for me is all of the kids finally coming to the terms that they actually need each other.
Yeah, and that they're all different, and that they need to learn to embrace each other's differences. I feel like this is the lesson that Neil has been trying to show us.
Yep.
And like, they're not listening to him, but the whole time, like, with all the funny stuff that he's, well, not all of it, but a lot of the funny stuff he's been doing kind of, in the background, is because he is so different than the rest of them.
Yeah.
He is not shaped the same. He's not, the same species. And, so him sniffling because his trunk was stuffy he's different. And him rolling down that short little hill because he's got short little legs.
Yeah.
But it's Neil, and so he doesn't really, he's just wants everybody to get along. He wants to go home.
Yeah.
So he's not the button pusher. That's Fern. Fern's the button pusher. She's the one that, and KB just finally gets to a point physically that she can't go on. She can't keep up with Fern anymore.
Yeah.
So she has to leave her.
And I really appreciate they spent both the time to have KB like call Fern out for not listening to her and whatever, but also to when they come back around and they save the ship the first time, the Fern apologizing for not listening, and KB apologizing for saying, "I haven't said it to you right. I haven't told you the right way until I got angry."
Right.
And that's what's been going on the entire time. KB has been very quiet when she hasn't been able to do something. And she hasn't been able to do some things because she's mostly android.
Yeah. Or at least, like her, I don't know. I mean, yeah. I guess her brain, because it's not that her, I mean, maybe her limbs and stuff are like servos or whatever, but it seems more like there's some sort of junction or something between her brain and, like, maybe it was a spinal injury or something.
Yeah, that was my thought too.
And this kind of bypasses that, so it tells her body to move, otherwise she'd be paralyzed.
And that's the medical condition that we've been talking about since they brought it up in episode 2.
Yeah.
That she has a medical condition. What is it? And ultimately what it is she had an accident. They didn't say what the accident was.
Right.
But it was catastrophic enough that they have to put the visor on her. And we all thought the visor was just like a way for her to do the Geordie LaForge thing, to augment some, like disability or whatever. No, she was properly hurt spinal cord wise, because when everything shut down, when they fell through the slip and slide, she was like frozen stiff, and Fern had to reboot her.
Yeah.
And then when they had their big fight, and it was Wim and KB on their own, she started to shut down again because essentially the fuse that was kind of keeping everything going hadn't had maintenance in a while because they've been off on this adventure and they had to create something.
Yeah. Yep.
And so
it's the equivalent of a chewing gum wrapper on your fuse in your car.
Yeah.
And if you get that reference, you're
1,000.
old enough.
We are that old. I don't know if they're made of tinfoil enough now. I think there's more paper in them now than there is.
Oh, the chewing gum wrappers?
Yeah.
I don't think the fuses in your car are like that anymore.
No.
But
But I appreciate that they both Fern and KB had that moment of, no, I was wrong. I'm sorry. Thank you for apologizing.
Yeah.
Like back, like that's a good friendship, and I think Fern specifically has been so focused on BSing her way through everything to
Yeah.
just try to get home. That we've talked about this when Jod came back and saved them when they were at Acorn.
Akron.
You couldn't make it any easier for us.
It's like Ohio.
Akron, right? And I said that in my head, and I still said Acorn. But she's been so involved in herself that she has missed everything else that's been going on around her.
Yeah, I mean, that's her childhood, right? That's her. She's got to live up to this expectation of her mother.
Yeah.
Whether her mother, we don't really know all of the kids' home lives enough to know whether that's something that her mother has put on her or that she has put on herself because of who her mother is.
Yeah.
But she's been, she had to be top in her class and all this. And so it's this thing that she has to be the best. She has to have all the answers. She has to, be the leader. She has to, and she's obviously not, nobody is 100% all the time.
Right,
you
right.
can be, a very self-assured adult and still not.
And still question yourself at times.
Have all the answers.
Yeah,
so, she's, whether her mother has set the bar or she has set the bar, her bar is very high, and she's finally coming to terms with the fact that she at least doesn't have to be that around all of them. Right?
Yeah.
They should just work together.
Yeah. We'll get into how that all worked out in a second because I want to talk about Wim. And Fern wanted to climb. Wynn made friends with the crab people who were using droid parts as their shells. And they took Wim and KB because Wim's like the trusting one, so he trusts everybody.
They're natives.
They're natives. They're
follow them,
and they're gonna lead us to somebody to help. And then they find out the mother crab is there, and I get flashbacks of the Mando, Grogu, and the frog lady on the ice planet after they crashed.
Oh,
and
yeah.
all the ice spiders came out.
Yeah.
The Ralph McQuarrie ice spiders. It had that same kind of feel to it. With
I
the
was
mother
thinking
crab
of the crabs from the Pirates of the Caribbean when Jack's on the upside down, whatever that is called.
Yeah.
All the crabs are running all over the place.
Yeah.
That's what crabs would do too, right? They find soda cans and whatever to make their little home out of. So of course they would find all the junk.
The thing about Wim in this episode for me is, even though he's still off on his Jedi quest thing in his head, but he's starting to come to the realization that maybe this is a bigger. It's starting to sink into him that this is a bigger deal than this adventure is a bigger deal.
Yeah.
Last week we had his little talk with Jod about he wanted to go on an adventure. He finally did, and it turned out being this catastrophe in his head. It wasn't as romantic as he hoped it was.
Right.
And this week he still has that kind of awe and wonder to himself. But even in his argument with Fern, he was like, all we have to do is get up to our ship. Fern wants to climb. KB can't make the climb. Neil's going to struggle with the climb because, like we were talking about, his anatomy just doesn't let do it. And Wim is like, I found locals. Like I made friends. Like, they're gonna lead us to find somebody to help us, and it's gonna be a race. But when it came down to it, when KB shut down and she showed him how to make the new fuse, he was the calm one.
Yeah, he did it.
He listened to instructions. He took it from her hands when she was struggling to open the parts. He got all the wires in there as they talk about, like, kind of back and forth about what kind of happened to her since her accident, and the idea that, like, she is so scared of not standing up to Fern because she doesn't have any more friends. And he's like, well, you can be in mine and Neil's friends.
Yeah.
FYI, you guys are all friends now. But But when it came down to it, and she completely shut down, he melted the wire. He made the mold. He cleaned it up. I love that he blew on it.
Blew on it, blew the sand off of it,
and plugged it back in. It didn't go in the right way. He kept calm. He kind of freaked out for a second in his voice, but he kept calm and still got it and whatever.
Yep.
And then when she didn't instantly reboot, you could see his wheels turning. Like how he was going to do. I know there's a reset button. Where do I go? And she pops up, and I just appreciate that he, in this in the moment of crisis, he was able to keep himself calm.
Yeah.
And in the moment and do that for a character who has been very much the entire time.
Yeah. Well, yes, and that will probably give him some self-confidence, right? I think they're all going to have some self-confidence after this episode, but that's, that scene specifically for him, that, in the last episode, he, it's not going the way I planned it, and I had envisioned in my head, but you did it, in the moment of, in the first moment of crisis, you did light the lightsaber upside down, but in the next moment of crisis, he
still had self-confidence enough to even think about doing it.
Yeah, that's true. And he did go after. He didn't just sit there and go, woe is us or whatever. He
like
did.
KB and Neil hiding underneath the table.
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah.
And then KB calls him "Nice job, Jedi."
Yeah.
And you could see that kind of boost of she called me a Jedi. All right, let's get let's talk about Jod before we get into the finale. Jod comes out of the sewer, looks straight out like Captain Jack Harkness after going
Sparrow. Captain Jack
Sparrow. Harkness is over there somewhere. Captain Sparrow. He's got all the jewelry. He's got a bunch of stuff from Renaud's vault, and then he runs into the staff from the resort that is now on top of Skull Mountain.
Do we have to talk about how the other pirates didn't die in the acid?
Right.
Somebody did.
Somebody did, yeah.
Because you heard them.
Yeah. I wonder if... I'm just going to go with headcanon that they split one group to go after him, one to go back to the ship to cut him off at the pass. That's what I'm going with.
Sure.
They don't need to explain it, but that's fine. But he gets caught by the other of Brutus's outfit that were there and take him captive, and then he tries to talk his way out of it. They weren't going to hear it, and then he calls for SM-33 to show up, and he's got all the necklaces and jewelry and crown on and stuff like that, and he gets shot with the gun. So they take them back to Brutus. It's Brachus's. It's down here. No, it's Brutus. Okay. Took him back to Brutus's flagship in the fleet.
But they get attacked by the X-Wings.
The X-Wings, yes. The X-Wings from the New Republic show up. I find that interesting because it's not really explained. Somebody called them, I think it was the staff of the hotel.
Or they followed Jod and the kids.
Yeah.
But they would have had to have followed them. So this is the second planet, right? They went to Akron, and then they came here.
Yeah. After going to Kim.
They went to Kim. They went to Akron.
And then they
came here. So this is the second planet after leaving. So I'm not sure how they would have.
They might have said it in dialogue and we just missed it. It might have been just like a sentence and we just weren't paying attention enough to, because that's X-Wings are on the screen. There's a dogfight. They get back to the fleet. Brutus sentences him to
the airlock,
to walk the plank,
right,
via the airlock.
Yeah.
And there's an older woman standing next to Brutus. I'm interested if they actually talk about who she is somewhere down the line.
Yeah.
But Jod gives her kind of a look, and then asks for the timer. She asks for like a chance for him to defend himself, essentially.
Right.
And they start this plasma
parlay.
It's a parlay, yeah. It's a cross examination, and there's this plasma hourglass, which is just awesome. I want one. It looks like a lava lamp, and the plasma's coming down. It's so cool. Jod sits there quietly for like 15 seconds or whatever, and he starts telling the story about hearing the story of At-Aten from Captain Renaud's own voice. He knows where At-Aten is. You can have unlimited money. He kind of starts playing on the sympathies of the other pirates who are starving because there's not really enough scraps to go around for everybody. They always have to share everything. What if you don't have to share because you have plenty? Like pleading to the rest of the group to try to mutiny back into the position of captain over Brutus, and Brutus isn't having it. The last shot we see it is Jod being his face like pressed up against the airlock. I said, why do they always have to throw away good containers in the airlock? I know for visually they have to do that so that you can see that something is actually leaving the ship.
Right.
But it's always like 5 containers that are perfectly good. Unless there's something poo in there. Why do we keep throwing away good stuff?
Maybe.
That's how Han Solo got away, because you threw away all those stupid containers, Empire.
That's true. All that trash floating around.
But he knows where At-Aten is. SM-33 has the coordinates. The kids... KB says that she has the coordinates stored in her data file thingy, whatever's going on in her head. And so now we have this moment where they are taking the ship off the platform and throwing it in the trash pile where the giant crab person is. Neil and Fern kidnap one of the tugboat thingies and save Wim and KB from the crab mother,
crab people,
and then they crash. They land the ship, crash the ship, and it happens to be right in front of this giant
trash
forge,
just
trash forge thingy, whatever.
Yeah,
that's just eating things up, and they go over and they try to save the ship. So in the process of the ship, it's not quite starting. They don't first they get in and they're like, "Do we know how to start this?" And KB is like, "I've watched Jod and SM-33 do it. I think it goes like this." And she starts hitting buttons.
Yeah. She pushes a couple, and you're like, "Oh, okay." And then she's pushing. You're like,
she stands up on the seat and flicks the ones up on top. Yeah. And then, but it's not getting enough power. She has to go down to the engine room. She puts Neil in the captain's seat, because he's flown the ship before.
Yep.
So now the two of them have shown how in previous episodes, things that they learned about the ship is going to give them a chance to go. Neil's a little nervous. Fern's like, "I've got your back. I'll do the piloting. You do that part."
Yeah.
Since we just did the Millennium Falcon ride, that's much harder than it looks.
We almost got that second container.
We almost did.
So close.
And then Wim, because he was on the gun in the episode with Kim when the X-Wings show up, he goes up to the gunner and starts shooting the ED-40 forge machine thingy. And they get to a point where they're just trapped by this thing and it just can't get enough power. It's got a hold of them. And Fern comes to the conclusion that they have to hit the big red button that SM-33 said never hit the big red button. And I love that they made this big deal of the shell explosion repellent thing, whatever they called it. And I love that they made a big deal about it, because it gave all of the kids enough concern to say, we can't hit this button.
Yeah.
We can't hit this button. And
Except you don't have a choice, because half of your ship is gone.
Right. You're getting eaten by the big, scary monster. And so she just hits the button, and come to find out, it's an exoskeleton for the ship, and it's now the super sleek Naboo looking almost fighter. Not quite as sleek, a little bit more edgy, not as polished, but it has that same kind of M1 Starfighter kind of same
Yeah.
shape and feel to it.
Just bigger.
Just much bigger,
Yeah.
much like the one that they escaped Naboo from, the Queen's yacht or
Yeah.
whatever they call
Yeah.
it.
Ooh.
And it has that kind of same kind of feel to it, and they get away. So now we have each of them trusted the other kid to do their part of their job to get them to safety. They all, like we were talking about earlier, they haven't been using what each of them is good at.
Yeah.
And they finally did it at the end of the episode.
Yep. Yep.
And now it's a race to Atten.
Yep.
I think the next episode we're going to get Jod's backstory.
Okay.
And then it's going to be what happens when they get there.
Right.
Because you're going to have the pirate fleet get there, and then you have the kids get there.
Right. And the administration on the planet saying nothing to see here, everything's
Yes.
fine, and then not one but two ships show up.
I'm very interested if they show the shot from the parents' point of view on the planet, and they look up and they see a ship because they get some kind of message from the kids. Hey, we're coming in. It's us.
Yeah.
Whatever. They
yeah,
get a
if
message
they get
from the
that
kids.
message out.
Then
yeah.
They get so the parents get the message. They look up at the sky. They see a star fly into the position, and then like 30 seconds later, it's like and there's a bunch of more ships from the pirate fleet.
Pirate fleet, yeah.
And now, what's that mean?
Right.
And now they reintroduce the X-wings.
Yeah.
So now is the New Republic coming out there
Two. Yep.
to bring? So there's the race to Atten now, and I cannot wait for what that's going to do because I have no idea.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the things I've been really loving about the show is I know enough about Star Wars. I know quite a bit about Star Wars that I can kind of see the ideas, the tropes, where stories are leading.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things about spending so much time reading the books, reading the comics, spending time doing deep dives into stuff. You kind of start to pick up on the orientation in which it's going.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, because this is Goonies, Indiana Jones, Amblin storytelling inside the universe, it feels like I have no idea. Like
Yeah.
I don't know where we're going, and I love that.
Yeah. I mean, again, you know, like none of the kids are going to die, right? None of the kids ever die in those movies, right?
Right.
And they're going to
Have a happy reunion with their parents.
right, and ultimately prove to whoever that they aren't just kids. They can handle themselves. They knew what they were talking about, whatever. But I think the bigger thing is just like if all these people are showing up. I mean, Atten's not going to be a secret anymore.
Yeah.
And what
Yeah.
does that mean? We still need to know who the supervisor is, and what that means just for the New Republic, for the Old Republic, like what, on a broader scale, what that means.
Yeah, 100%. Like there needs to be some resolution of what is at Atten.
Or if they're planning on doing another season or two, and they've just because Disney has always held out until the first season of a thing was done before they announce whether there's going to be. I don't know if I necessarily agree with this, but I think somebody said this. Was it Force Center that they said just commit to 3 seasons and come out in the beginning and tell us it's going to be 3 seasons.
Yep.
And then you can tell the beginning, the middle, and the end, and we know this is where we're going.
Yeah.
I prefer that, but okay. So if they wait, it's gotten good reviews. It's gotten better reviews from the fan base than a lot of the previous stuff has. So there may be some more seasons where they can delve into, they kind of leave it on a bit of a cliffhanger as far as what this all means for the greater
good
Star Wars
galaxy as a
galaxy.
whole.
There you go. I was gonna say universe, and I was like, no, that's not that right.
big. I always have IMDb open to remind us of everybody's names and stuff like that. Episode 1 is 7.3 stars. Episode 2 is 7.7. Episode 3 is 7.8. 4 is 6.9. I don't know. It's a really good episode. So episode 5 is 8.1, and this one was 7.7. IMDb is always a point or a half out of 10 below what audience scores and stuff like that are. We don't believe in Rotten Tomatoes. It's a false narrative.
Yeah. We have loved some movies that Rotten Tomatoes hated, and we hated movies that they've loved, so we don't even listen to it.
Yeah. It's. I understand it's a conglomerate of a bunch of different things at the same time, but it's a false negative for us. And so, but if you go online and you see posts on Blue Sky or Facebook or TikTok or whatever, almost everything is positive.
Yeah.
The only real negatives is the maybe the episodic storytelling that they're doing. That's just a choice. That's just a storytelling choice that they have made that some people just don't like. Some people don't like that in this modern era that they didn't drop it all at once. I totally get that too. Like I get that like structural stuff that people are struggling with, but they're loving the overall story, and everybody can't stop talking about who Jod is and what that means.
And that nothing can happen to Neil's perfect blue hair.
Perfect blue hair. That boy, if he grows a mustache when he's a teenager, oh my god.
Is it on the top of his nose
under
or
the
on
snout that rebellious stage you get at like 22. I'm going to grow a mustache because I can. So where is it? Is it the end of the snout?
Oh, yeah. Just right over
like
the...
a little Van Dyke.
Perfect.
That's a visual you all want to have. Really enjoying this show. Like we said, we will be back on schedule next week. Our life's been chaotic since like November, so chaotic in both good and bad. So we're hoping to be back on schedule next week.
Yes.
And like I said, I'm writing for the Geekery. I'm doing reviews. Once this series gets done, I'm going to start working on some other stuff. So I will put the Geekery link in the description down below. Let us know what you thought of this episode. If you were in our reaction to it in the comments down below. If you're on the Spotify side, please follow us there. If you're on the YouTube channel, hit the like and subscribe and the bell for all that kind of stuff. And share it with your friends. It's free. It means nothing. And follow us on all the social media stuff. Like I said, Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok for at least another 2 weeks. And until next time, cult members, good afternoon, good evening, and good night now.